The streets of Detroit grew quieter every night after midnight as tired workers returned home from late shifts while flickering neon signs reflected across rain-soaked sidewalks and traffic slowly disappeared beneath the cold glow of aging street lamps. But near the corner of an old apartment complex on 8th Avenue, a small folding chair appeared almost every evening beneath one particular light where 13-year-old Marcus Hill sat wearing a worn gray hoodie with schoolbooks spread carefully across his knees because inside the tiny apartment he shared with his mother and two younger sisters the electricity had been shut off again after months of unpaid bills, leaving the family trapped in darkness while his mother Angela worked two exhausting jobs trying desperately to survive after Marcus's father abandoned them years earlier. And despite constant hunger, unpaid rent notices, and nights filled with freezing cold, Marcus carried one stubborn dream deep inside his heart because more than anything he wanted to become an engineer one day, hoping he could someday build a life where his family never had to fear darkness again. And so every night after helping his sister sleep, Marcus quietly walked outside carrying old textbooks and unfinished homework to the nearest functioning street light where he studied for hours beneath freezing wind and passing traffic, while neighbors sometimes noticed him sitting there alone long after midnight, solving math equations under the yellow glow. But most people simply kept walking because struggling children slowly become invisible in poor neighborhoods where survival itself already consumes everyone's attention. And although Marcus often felt embarrassed sitting outside while other kids his age played video games or slept comfortably in warm homes, he refused to stop because he believed education was the only escape from the cycle swallowing his family whole. While weeks turned into months and the boy under the street light became a familiar sight to late-night delivery drivers, police officers, and exhausted workers passing through the neighborhood, until one freezing December evening retired high school teacher Evelyn Carter noticed Marcus again while returning home from the grocery store because she had seen the same child studying beneath that exact light nearly every night for weeks, and something about the determination on his tired face reminded her painfully of students she once taught before poverty forced many of them to give up on school entirely. And after quietly watching from across the street for several minutes, Evelyn finally approached the nervous boy asking why he was outside studying so late in the freezing cold. And at first Marcus tried pretending everything was fine out of pride, but eventually the truth spilled out as he explained that the apartment had no electricity again and he could not afford to fall behind in school because he dreamed of earning a scholarship someday. While Evelyn listened silently, fighting tears after realizing the child sitting beneath the street lamp possessed more discipline and determination than many adults she had known throughout her lifetime. And before leaving that night, Evelyn quietly handed Marcus a pair of insulated gloves from her shopping bag along with her phone number, telling him to call if he ever needed help. Though Marcus politely thanked her without expecting anything to truly change because disappointment had already taught him not to trust hope too quickly. But the very next evening something unbelievable happened, because when Marcus arrived beneath the street light carrying his books, he discovered a small portable desk waiting beside the pole along with a thick winter blanket, a thermos of hot chocolate, and a handwritten note that simply read, "Dreams deserve light." And over the following weeks more people in the neighborhood slowly joined together after Evelyn shared Marcus's story online, as local business owners donated school supplies, warm clothes, and eventually enough money to restore electricity inside the family's apartment. While volunteers helped Angela find more stable work and teachers from Marcus's school offered tutoring opportunities after learning the truth about his nightly study sessions. And although Marcus remained overwhelmed by the sudden kindness surrounding him, the thing that affected him most deeply was realizing that for the first time in years people finally saw him not as another poor child forgotten by society but as someone worth believing in. And months later, during the school district's academic awards ceremony, the entire auditorium stood applauding as Marcus Hill walked across the stage receiving the city's highest student achievement scholarship after finishing top of his class, while his exhausted mother cried openly in the front row, unable to believe the same boy once studying alone beneath freezing street lights was now preparing for a future neither of them ever thought possible. And near the end of his speech, Marcus paused before looking toward the audience and quietly saying something that left almost everyone in tears, because instead of thanking people for saving him, he simply smiled and said, "I was always trying to reach the light. I just needed someone to notice I was standing in the dark."